In this lesson, we're going to begin to lay out our UVs for our texture maps. We have a mesh that has eyes, an internal mouth structure, the basic head, feet and hands, and a reasonable number of edge loops within the map or the mesh itself. Alright, so I can see that the number of triangles I have is about 3,700, which is a fair amount. We want to make sure that we stay within the 4,000 and 5,000 range for a higher resolution game model, and apply our normal maps from our high resolution mesh onto that. So without further ado, we're going into Photoshop and for this particular class we're going to concentrate on the head. And these lessons can be applied to the rest of the body. Here I have a basic head texture that has been prepared. The best, most productive way of preparing texture maps is by launching off of photography. So if you have a good camera, digital camera, you go out, take photographs of friends' faces. You want the front, the side, and the back views of the head, and you can go ahead and prepare the texture map in this way. This was originally a rectangular shape, and once you have all the photographs laid out and blended together, then you can go ahead and rescale that, resize that to a map size that's going to work. Typically 1024 by 1024. In this case, this is a 512 by 512. It's already been resized. But for library purposes, I would recommend it as large as possible. And you can always scale it down. So for this one, you can see that in the center of the map, I have a photograph of a face straight on, and then on either side I have the sides of the head, and the back of the head is cut in half and placed one half and one half on the outer side. And you can go in and you can use the clone tool to blend those together. You can use smudge tool and a number of other tools to be able to blend those photographs together well. Then what you will want to do is to just go into these areas where you can see that, such as around the eyes, there's a lot of greenish tones that are probably going to not play well. So you'll want to go in and desaturate those. The sponge tool with the desaturate on, you can prepare the eyes a little bit better that way by getting rid of some of this green. Also, you want to paint out as many shadows as possible so that the lighting in the scene will create the shadows and not your texture map, dynamic rather than static. So with those things in mind, there's still a lot of work left to do on this texture map. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Save your Photoshop file separately, but save it as a JPEG or Targa, and 24-bit's fine. We don't have any channels on here. Take that back into Max, and we're going to import that into our material editor and begin applying that to the head and neck of our model. The first thing that I'm going to do in order to map is apply a modifier on Wrap UVW, And as you can see, I already have some seams in here, but we're going to map the head. So go right here to the faces, and the head is already selected. We're going to create some selection sets to make our life a little easier. And the first thing that we're going to do is select the faces. Actually, let me check to see. Right here in the selection parameters rollout, you'll want to make sure that ignore back faces is unchecked so that we make sure that we're getting the selection all the way through to the other side. Oops. And I'm just going to select polygons that are associated with the face and turn that around, make sure I've got them all selected. I'm going to create a selection set called face. And I'm going to do that with the ears as well, and then I will return. Alright, I have the ears and the face. So now what we will do is right down here under map parameters rollout, there's a quick planar map feature. So I'm just going to select that and make sure that the vector is perpendicular to the face that I am trying to project the planar map to. Now the reason I use a planar map for the face is because I plan on using photography. It is the quickest way to achieve a texture map. Once I have this, I'm going to right here at my parameters rollout, I'm going to click Edit, which will take me to the UVW edit window, and you can see that the face is laid out just fine. So we're going to move that aside, and the face map is already in here. We get the ears, and to do the same thing, we're going to apply the quick planar map, and as you can see, the vector is not perpendicular to the ears. So what we're going to need to do is tell it what direction to project. Now it is. So now that we have that, we can go ahead into Edit, and we see that our ears are now mapped. So we have both ears stacked on top of one another. So what I'm going to do is down here under Select Element, now I can choose one of them and move it off, and then right click and flip or mirror horizontal. So now I have one on either side of the ear. Alright, and you can see when I select this, the blue edges turn blue, and I know that that ear is associated with that side of the head. Alright, now that we have those mapped, we're going to, we don't have a selection set for the rest of the head, but I'm going to show you two different ways of mapping this. You can just grab what's left and go up here to mapping, flatten mapping if you'd like. Make sure that you are, yes, these settings look okay. You can go ahead and say okay. And what that does is it just flattens out everything else. Sometimes you'll get a lot of little bits like this, which will cause quite a bit of work. So in this case, I'm going to show you a different way to do that. So again, come back here, and we already have selected what's left, and there is a planar map associated with that. Now I'm going to just go ahead back to Edit, and you can see that this has been mapped accordingly. Now I prefer this method simply because it's the pipeline in which I have worked, and so when I prepare my texture maps, I go back to my library, pull something that's similar to what I'm trying to achieve in skin tone and hair color and upgrade that map, and then and also my low resolution model is already mapped or has the UV layout to that particular map, and I never start from scratch anymore. It's incredibly time saving, so I can't say enough how important it is to build your library. So I'm going to select on element, and as you can see, the entire thing is mapped as one unit. So what we can do is go back and deselect half of it. So I am here with my Unwrap UVW modifier, and I'm going to deselect half the faces so that I only have half of the head selected. When I go back in, you can see that I have half the head, but it is still attached to the other half. So what I can do is put that back into place and say detached edge verts, and come back here, and voila, both of them are mapped appropriately.